watching Shalom TV, celebrating Jewish culture. Funding for Shalom TV has been provided by the following: and by viewers like you.
The lady in the harbor stands over my left shoulder. The wonderful Statue of Liberty, the symbol of freedom for every human being who passes through this harbor on the way to the shores of the United States of America. So many immigrants have passed through these waters, finding freedom in the United States of America. And right now I'm standing on a Freedom Flotilla, organized by the Conference of Presidents of major American Jewish organizations on the occasion of the 4th anniversary of the kidnapping of Gilad Shalit. Gilad Shalit has been in captivity for 4 years, held by Hamas incommunicado. Even the International Red Cross is not permitted to see him, to talk to him, to bring him word of his parents, to bring to his parents and his family words of his well-being. And so Malcolm Hoenlein, who is the Executive Vice Chairman of the Conference of Presidents, the New York Board of Rabbis, and organizations both Jewish and non-Jewish have come together today to create a flotilla of their own, a freedom flotilla of true essence, to remind the world of the plight of Gilad Shalit. And we're going up the East River to the United Nations to deliver a message that Gilad Shalit can never be forgotten, and that humanitarian concerns should demand his immediate release. Let me show you some of the events that occurred here on the Freedom Flotilla.
We have called this the true Freedom Flotilla. There are those who use the name Freedom Flotilla for propaganda purposes, to violate freedom, to support terrorist entities, to deny Israel the right to defend its citizens. This is the true Freedom Flotilla addressing the real siege in Gaza, which is not against the people of Gaza, but against Gilad Shalit, who for 4 years held incommunicado, and not even the Red Cross able to have access to him. Today we declare, no more! Gilad Shalit must be free! For 4 years he has suffered. For 4 years, while the United Nations Human Rights Council and so many other bodies passed dozens and dozens of resolutions against Israel, they have been silent on Gilad Shalit. We appreciate that the Secretary General and others have mentioned his name and spoken out. But where is the international outcry? Where is the pressure, as we saw this past weeks, on Israel for defending itself, to defend a soldier kidnapped across an international border and taken into captivity by 8 terrorists? So today we come together, and we will hear from people representing different segments of American society. We could have had many, many more, but we have a short time and we have to have the boats back at a certain time. So we're going to go right to the program. I want to read first a message that we received from Elie Wiesel, the Nobel Peace Laureate. Gilad Shalit was kidnapped 4 long years ago and has been kept in secret isolation, causing pain and torment to his wife and parents. 4 years of endless suffering and agony. To the hostage, time itself is a torture. It becomes an enemy. Filled with uncertainty, his time is different than ours. His waiting is not like ours. His minutes are longer than ours. When will his Hamas captors realize that even terrorism must have limits? When will they allow the International Red Cross to see him in his prison cell or underground hole? When will the civilized world raise its voice and demand Shalit's release? When will NGOs make their outrage known? When will all good, decent, and sensitive men and women mobilize their energy to put an end to this human scandal? They must be made to realize that their silence only helps the jailer, never the prisoner. What is at stake is our honor and our humanity. Martin Luther King said that we will be judged not by the words of our enemies, but by the silence of our friends. This is a time when we cannot be silent. And today, many friends have come on both of these boats to stand together in freedom for freedom of Gilad Shalit. And I would like now to call on Ambassador Gabriela Shalev, the permanent representative to the United Nations of the State of Israel.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Malcolm, Hoenlein, and thank you, the Conference of Presidents, for arranging this great and important flotilla. 4 years, 1,460 days and nights, Gilad Shalit has been held in captivity, deprived of the basic human rights. This is contrary to international law, to moral. It's outrageous that we did not hear the voice of the international community. I can say as a mother, as a grandmother, and someone who lost a dear member of family, my husband and the father of my children in war, I can feel for the family, for the friends who are looking forward to have Gilad Shalit back at home. I call on everybody that has some voice in the international community to call for the immediate release of Gilad Shalit. Thank you very much.
And now I would like to call upon the Consul General of the State of Israel in New York, Ambassador Asaf Sharif.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you to the conference. I want to thank Oli and Stephen for helping us arrange this. The only person in Gaza really being denied from his human rights is Gilad Shalit. The only one who really needs humanitarian aid is Gilad Shalit. Not many people know that, but Malcolm spoke about the flotilla. The Shalit family approached the organizer of the Turkish flotilla 2 days before they reached our shores and asked them to call and demand that Gilad Shalit will meet a representative of the Red Cross. And they refused. They refused, but then they said that they don't care about Gilad Shalit. Now, if you really care about humanitarian issues, you should demand that at least, the very least, he would meet the representative of the Red Cross. And hopefully in the coming days, we can't wait another year. In the coming days, he will be released and will come home after 4 difficult years. Thank you, and thank you again, Malcolm.
The French consulate has joined in this event, and the Deputy Consul General will be on the boats. As you know, Gilad Shalit has dual citizenship. He's also a French citizen, and they wanted to identify with us as well. We are very honored to have with us the Chief External Affairs Officer of the American Red Cross in New York, and we welcome her and ask her to say a few words. Rosemary Mackey.
Thank you so much. I'm actually here representing Bonnie McElveen Hunter, who is the chairman of the board of the American Red Cross, who I know the Conference of Presidents knows well for the work that she did in making sure that the Magen David Adom became part of the Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies a few years ago. Although the American Red Cross is not directly involved in visiting detainees, we are deeply troubled whenever the International Committee of the Red Cross, a private organization distinct from the American Red Cross, is not granted access to people such as Gilad Shalit. Visiting people detained during armed conflict and enabling them to exchange personal news with their relatives in what is one of the ICRC's main humanitarian tasks and mandated under the terms of the Geneva Conventions. In 1 year, the organization has visited nearly 500,000 detainees in more than 80 countries. Since his capture, we understand that the ICRC has repeatedly asked Hamas to allow access to Gilad Shalit, as well as the exchange of Red Cross messages with his family. While we understand these requests have been denied, the ICRC has repeatedly declared that it remains dedicated to this issue and continues to pursue every opportunity to educate his captors about the importance of this process. In the past, our president, Gail McGovern, the CEO of the American Red Cross, and her staff have spoken on many occasions with the ICRC president and other senior officials regarding his welfare. They will continue to raise this case with the ICRC leadership and through other avenues available to the American Red Cross. Thank you for having me here to speak today.
Representing the labor community, one of our own, Stuart Applebaum, who is the president of the Jewish Labor Committee and president of the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Stores Union. Stuart?
The American labor movement fully understands that real peace will only be achieved through the negotiation process, not by kidnapping Israeli soldiers and other terrorist acts. We also call on those activists and organizations who are concerned about the plight of the Palestinians in Gaza to tell those in Hamas to release Gilad Shalit. If these activists and organizations are true humanitarians, as they claim they are, then they know this is the right thing to do, and that it will send a strong message to the world about whether Hamas is really serious about achieving a peaceful settlement with Israel. Thank you.
Reflective of the broad support that we enjoy, we are very honored and gratified that he took time out from a busy schedule on very short notice. The Reverend Michael Faulkner of the New Horizon Church, who's with us.
I am pleased to be here, as always, to stand with Israel. I'm not here as a politician. I am here as a Christian, an evangelical Christian that believes strongly with every fiber of my being that Israel is God's chosen people. I believe it because the Bible that I read says it. And I believe that Israel is entitled to its land, given to it by the God that we serve, the God of America that gave us the inalienable rights, is the God who has bestowed Israel its land with its own opportunity and its military to support and defend its borders without the intrusion of the American government or any other government or any other threat to Israel. It is important that you know, that all the Israel community know that we stand together with Israel, that the Christian community stands strong with Israel, that in America today, Israel has no better friend than the evangelical Christian community, and that's real. And we are willing to lay down our lives, our freedom, and our resources in support of Israel. I was here 4 years ago when Gilad was first kidnapped, and we are here again 4 years later. I am appalled by the fact that there has not been more of an outcry from our government. There has not been more of an outcry from the humanitarian community. But I am here today representing Christians United for Israel and Robert Stern and others, millions around America that stand strong with Israel. We will pray, we will march, we will give, we will go, we will do whatever is necessary, but we will not be silent. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless Israel.
Now I would like to ask Rabbi Potasnik, the President of Board of Rabbis of New York, to lead us in a prayer.
Thank you, Malcolm. Firstly, I want to say as a rabbi, I'm joining Reverend Faulkner's church. And I'm sure many of you want to join his church, and there's no building fund there as well. But let me just offer a simple prayer, and that is that if you will look at the world, there are two kinds of people, the decent and the indecent. Today we come here to make a stand and to say to everyone, the decent have to stand against the indecent. Noam Shalit, the father of Gilad, made us promise him that we would not forget his son. So we come here today, we remember that promise. We also say, if there is such a thing as a Human Rights Council at the United Nations, if they really believe in human rights, and America sits on that council, then the only humanitarian aid they need to recognize is the humanitarian aid for this one kid who cannot see his family, who cannot see anyone, an International Red Cross or anyone else. So we come here today, decent against the indecent, and we will continue to speak out loud as possible until this young man comes home to his family, and then we will have fulfilled our promise to his father. Thank you.
I don't know how many of you know this book. This was written by Gilad Shalit when he was 11 years old. And it was a book about the search for peace, of people learning to live together. And it's a story of a shark and a fish, and how at first the fear and the challenges between them, and how ultimately they came together. This book was published recently to take his words to many people. And it is an indication of the true Gilad Shalit and the real people of Israel who work every day to achieve peace. We can contribute by making our voices heard and to show the world the message that is in this book, which I will be presenting to the representative of the Red Cross for their files and their archives, but also with the message that we ask them to maintain this commitment. And I would ask Ambassador Shalev and Asi and everybody to come up. This is a box, and in it, as you can see, are various food items, clothing, but it's items that really qualify as humanitarian aid. So we present this to you with our thanks for being here, and I ask that you convey this to him.
Absolutely. I will make sure that the American Red Cross gets this to the International Committee as they keep pressing for their visit.
Thank you so much.
I have the privilege again to be standing with Malcolm Hoenlein, Vice Chairman of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, who did so much to put this flotilla together. First of all, how did the idea come about?
I was thinking about what we could do. This is the 4th anniversary of Gilad Shalit's kidnapping. And to do another small demo, to do another petition, another letter to the president, didn't seem to me to be the appropriate response. And when we have seen how people who are supporting terrorist entities grab the headlines by organizing and claiming to be part of a freedom flotilla, I felt that it was important to highlight the real siege in Gaza, which is against Gilad Shalit, and to have the true freedom flotilla. And in literally less than 72 hours, this was all put together. And we have more ships that will be joining us on the East River side, so that people responded immediately to their opportunity and understood what the real message is. It's free Gilad Shalit, to get somebody who's been held incommunicado, who was really denied humanitarian aid. The people of Gaza got 1 million tons in the last year. They're not starving. There's no hunger. I'm not saying conditions are ideal, but if the party to blame is Hamas that is ruling them, we want the message to be clear that you can name it anything you want, but that flotilla was not for freedom. This is.
So I haven't had a chance to ask you. Let me ask you now. What was your reaction to the reaction of what Israel did on the Mavi Marmara? What was your reaction to the media and some of the criticism aimed at Israel?
Well, you see the rush to judgment. You see how the world is so quick to condemn. Even the resolution adopted by the United Nations said that they're deeply concerned about the victims not knowing their identity and that many of them were associated with a terrorist organization. And in paragraph 6, acknowledge that they have no idea what occurred, they don't know what led to it, they don't understand what happened, but they still were prepared to issue a statement of condemnation. We also see how quick the Human Rights Council was to adopt a resolution with no facts, no information, no background. And it's part of a pattern where the demonization and delegitimization of Israel. We hope part of the message here is to offset that. But the reaction in the world, but not the United States. And I think that if you look at the polls, and all the polls we have seen show the American people get it, they support what Israel did. They support Israel's right to defend itself. They want our government to support Israel, which it has, and has talked about Israel's right to defend itself. They're blocking arms to a terrorist entity. Why is it that the Palestinian Authority doesn't want the siege lifted? Why does Egypt not want the siege lifted? Why does Saudi Arabia not want it lifted? Because it's a threat to all of them as it is to Israel.
Have you been satisfied enough with the Obama administration's response after the flotilla incident?
Well, I think that they were very helpful in the UN trying to limit it. The question is why a resolution was adopted at all. A presidential statement, there was no resolution, and that was because of the United States' effort. So we believe that what they did was important. Their statements of support for Israel's right to defend itself, working with Israel in reshaping the way the embargo was implemented, not changing the policy, but going from a negative to a positive, meaning that now they list only the things that can't get in, as opposed to before saying these are the things that could get in. So many items weren't on the list and were barred. So I think that those steps were positive. We will have to see, and we hope that the United States will make sure the UN doesn't go ahead with another investigation, which we know will just be a redux of the Goldstone report.
On behalf of everybody, again, Yasha Koach, great job in just like 3 days, and you continue to serve the Jewish community and really world Jewry and America as well. Wonderfully, Malcolm. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Malcolm Hoenlein. I have the great pleasure of standing with the Consul General for the State of Israel in New York, the Honorable Asaf Sharif. How exciting must this be simply to see American Jews go out of their way to participate in a freedom flotilla on behalf of Gilad Shalit?
Anything that happens on Gilad Shalit is very exciting, but we are all waiting for the real exciting day, which will be him getting home. It's something that the conference and the consulate start working on in the last 48 hours, and I think if we had more time, we would bring many, many more people. But still, to see hundreds of people here today on this boat and the other boats, it's really exciting.
Asaf, what is it that Americans in general, American Jews also, but the American people, what do they need to understand about, number one, Gilad Shalit in particular, and the conflict that Israel has with Hamas in general?
Regarding Gilad Shalit, this is not an American Jews issue. This is every person who cares about humanitarian issue. It's his issue. It has nothing to do if you're a Jewish or Christian or Muslim. This guy is sitting for 4 years, haven't seen a daylight. He didn't get a visit from the Red Cross. This is the main important thing. It's not about Jews or non-Jews. Now, regarding the conflict between us and Hamas, it shows you what the way they are treating Gilad Shalit. It shows you what kind of people we are facing here. What kind of people who, unlike any other people in the world, they wouldn't let the Red Cross. We are not saying bring our people to visit him. The guy needs to see daylight. The guy needs to get new glasses. They don't let him get new glasses. To get a visit, a letter from his family, some connection to the real world. And it shows you a lot about what's the character of the people who are holding him and the character of people who are fighting us so brutally and trying to attack our kids.
Asaf, on the Charlie Rose show, PBS television, he interviewed one of the heads of Hamas. He also interviewed Mahmoud Abbas. But he interviewed one of the heads of Hamas. And it made it look as if Hamas wanted to be reasonable, that in fact they would accept a two-state solution, living side by side with the State of Israel. When you, an Israeli, see an interview like that, what do you, again, wish we, the viewers, the American viewers, understood? To what extent is this interview reflecting the emes, the truth? To what extent is there deception here from your perspective?
No, the international community is very united regarding the issue of Hamas. They are united. They have 3 conditions for Hamas from the day they took over, they won the election. They said you have to recognize Israel's right to exist. You have to accept all previous agreements signed by the Palestinians and the Israelis, and you have to stop completely all violence activities. As soon as they accept these 3 conditions, we are ready to negotiate with them. Leave us, United States will negotiate, but they refuse. Now you can say whatever you want. All you need to do is to accept the 3 conditions. The 3 conditions was written by former President of France, Jacques Chirac, was accepted by the UN, was accepted by the Quartet, by the Israelis, even by the Palestinians themselves. So you can say you want peace, you want a two-state solution. Stop shooting, accept previous agreement, and just say that I have a right on this land and I have a right to live like you have a right to live. We are ready to say again and again that we think the Palestinians should have their own state. But the Jews are entitled to have their own state too. That's it. It's very simple.
Consul General Asaf Sharif, you are doing a marvelous job, not only for Israel, but for the entire Jewish people. Wish you kol tuv v'hatzlacha. All good luck. So I have the pleasure now of standing with Adam Dichter, who is the assistant managing editor of one of the leading Anglo papers in the entire country, the Jewish Week, here in the New York area. So, look, you're a journalist. You're here also as a Jew. As a journalist, as a Jew, what's your reaction to the Freedom Flotilla today?
I think it's a good idea. I think we've passed a lot of Circle Line boats to South Street Seaport. We're a little too far away from the Statue of Liberty to see anything, but I think a lot of people are seeing the signs, a lot of people are getting the message. The television stations like yours, CBS was here before. I think it's going to get the message across to a lot of people who just don't know who Gilad Shalit is. It hasn't been a worldwide cause as it should be. A person who was captured and held for no reason. Negotiations have been going on for 4 years. Numerous deals have been offered by the Israelis, and he's not being released. He's not being able to at least be visited by the International Red Cross. I think today a few people, when they go to sleep tonight, will know the name Gilad Shalit that didn't know when they woke up this morning.
In general, what was your reaction, Adam, to the way in which the general media responded after Israel stopped the flotilla on its way to Gaza? And obviously there were 9 deaths, and the criticism was pretty strong. What was your reaction to it?
Well, it's hard to say general media. There was some media that were very fair. There were some that were unfair. I think the presumption around the world was that Israel had done something wrong, that their response was harsh, notwithstanding the fact that the video came out immediately that showed these soldiers going into a danger zone immediately, hitting the deck and immediately being assaulted by sticks and at least in one case, a broken bottle, that guns were taken away from them. They came supposedly with paintball guns, expecting perhaps, if anything, a little bit of a riot, not expecting at all to have to defend their lives with lethal force. Any country that expects their troops to sit down and lie down and allow their troops to be attacked that way without a response, I think is being dishonest. I think nobody would. When the facts come out, Israel's investigating. I think the facts will show that Israel responded the only way they could. The blockade was a legal action. It was agreed to on the Oslo Accords in 1993. The Israelis and Palestinians agreed on the right for Israel to inspect and protect the territorial waters off Gaza. Egypt also wants that. And let's be honest, the Palestinian Authority also wants that blockade to be enforced. They don't want more Iranian arms going in to empower Hamas. I think that's the last thing Mahmoud Abbas wants. No matter his indignation when he's here in the United States, I think he's glad and prays for the longevity of that blockade.
You know, I read the Jewish Week every week, and I see a lot of stories that deal with the quality of American Jewry. And there is a growing concern that there is not simply assimilation, but an ennui, almost a malaise among American Jews, especially among younger American Jews. And your papers run a number of stories talking about that. And I'm just curious to know your own personal take on it, your concerns, and whether you think the story is overblown or whether you think it's real.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's a small minority of the American Jewish community who really live Jewish 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Obviously, the majority celebrates the holidays, perhaps goes to temple once in a while, but is not really living Jewish in the full sense of it as it being first and foremost part and parcel of their identity. I think those that are will carry the torch into the next generation. I think we'll see a toll taken in assimilation as we have in the past and as we will in the future. It's really up to that 20% or so that really are living Jewish, putting their kids in Hebrew schools, whether they're full-time Hebrew schools or after-school programs, going to Jewish camps, attending Jewish programs, and really standing up for Israel and making it part and parcel of their identity. It's really up to them to maintain the American Jewish community into the next generation.
Adam, you do fantastic work at the Jewish Week.
Thank you.
I wish you kol tuva hatzlacha, continued success, and a chance to talk to me every now and then.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on the success of your channel, and good luck going forward.
Thank you. So, Janice, I want your reaction to the President's Conference convening this flotilla on behalf of Gilad Shalit. What does it mean to you, and what do you think it means to your congregation in Massapequa?
My congregants who couldn't be here today because it was held on such short notice would be very impressed that their rabbi is doing what Judaism requires of us, and that is acting in pursuit of justice and righteousness. And the fact that Gilad Shalit, this is the commemoration of his 4th year of captivity, it's just apprehensible that the American government and no other government in the world can convince even the International Red Cross to do anything to at least see him, to determine if he's well or ill, if he's still alive or not. And it is a shame that Israel is put in a position all the time to return terrorists, to let prisoners go out of jail, and we can't even find out the well-being of one soldier.
In general, how would you describe the makeup of your congregation in terms of its political leaning? One always assumes that a Reformed congregation tends to lean left. Would that be true for your congregation?
My congregation has a few people that are left-leaning, more are center or center-right. We believe in the existence of the State of Israel, in freedom and within its own sovereignty, without the threat of loss of life or any other disasters that continue to befall her. We believe in her existence and her right to exist.
You know, there are many people who are worried that the younger generation is growing further and further distanced away from Israel. And it's always easy for a rabbi to say, oh no, look at all the young people in my congregation who are involved. But you deal with the entire community. What's your sense, and are you concerned at all about the extent to which young American Jews are losing a contact with, a feeling for Israel?
I think they are. I used to work for a Zionist organization, and I am a 100% supporter and advocate of the State of Israel. And it is difficult to teach young people their important connection to the State of Israel, what it means to the Jewish people spiritually, emotionally, historically, to connect with our ancestors. It is difficult because of what we have to compete against. The whole network, Twittering, the world is full of things more thrilling than Israel. But when they realize the excitement, the fun, the connection, it really does draw them in, but it is difficult. We have to provide kids the excitement and enthusiasm where they're at, which means my generation, and I'm not that old, but my generation needs to understand how to connect with 10 and 15-year-olds. That means more Twittering. That means more positive uplinks onto YouTube. That means connecting with them where they are and in the language they can understand.
So I'm standing again with Pesach Lerner, and so here we are on the Freedom Flotilla. It's an obvious question, but I want the answer anyway. What brought you here?
What brought us here? Concern for another Jew, the need that he's never forgotten, the need to make noise, the need to make sure other people know that he's not forgotten. You never know what, when, why, where, something's going to make a difference. And if there's a possibility, we all have to be here. Not just me, not just you. We all have to be here in some form or fashion. 4 years, you can only never imagine what this young man's going through. And if it takes us on a hot day to come out and make a statement, that's the least we can do, and we got to do more.
In general, Pesach, what was your reaction to the way people reacted, the media reacted, to the incident on the flotilla that the State of Israel stopped as it was trying to break the Israeli blockade?
Did we expect anything different? I think, we should have planned for it. We should have known it was coming. I think it's time that we stand up for who we are and what we are. They're going to scream and yell at us anyway. So if they're going to scream and yell anyway, we might as well be secure and make sure that our citizens in Israel and all over the world are secure.
Were you comfortable enough with the way the American administration reacted after, again, there was this flood of criticism of Israel?
No.
Tell me why.
I think we have to stand up for the truth. International waters, but as protecting our own, we're allowed to be there. They had no right to come. We did our homework already. Within hours, we know what Turkey was sending. We should have stood up and said, this is our friend. This is a blockade that's legal. You shouldn't have been there. Anybody takes his own situation into his own hands. You have no right to complain. I hate to say it. It's like the old joke, if somebody kills his parents and comes to the judge and says, give me Rahman, it's mercy because I'm an orphan. Bottom line is they didn't belong there. They knew what they were doing. They had to think through, and the United States should have gotten up and said, the flotilla was wrong. Israel had every right to defend itself. End of sentence. That's it.
I'm standing with Helen Friedman, the Executive Director of Americans for a Safe Israel. Helen, what brought you today to this Freedom Flotilla?
Well, Rabbi Golub we at Americans for a Safe Israel support every demonstration on behalf of Israel. We're out there fighting every minute, and of course we're fighting for Gilad Shalit. Of course we recognize that this is an abomination, that he should be kidnapped and in isolation for 4 years without communication with anybody. So, I mean, it's just a natural that we should support him. And I know this flotilla was organized on the spur of the moment, and on the spur of the moment I dropped a lot of work that had to be done and came to support this cause.
I'm standing with Mindy Stein, the president of Emunah. And Mindy, you just got off a plane from Israel.
I got off the plane at 6:30. Actually, I got off the plane at 5:30, and I came here because I think it's very important to remind everybody that this is really a humanitarian flotilla. Unlike the other flotilla, which was armed with mercenaries and a different agenda and arms, we are for peace, and we want the freedom of Gilad Shalit. So that's why I came, even though I'm exhausted. But I came.
Well, good for you. In general, Mindy, what is your sense of the American community's appreciation for the plight of Gilad Shalit in particular and the conflict that Israel has with Hamas in general?
I think the majority, there was actually a survey recently that have shown that the majority of American Jews are definitely worried about Gilad Shalit. They want him to get home. And I do think also the surveys have shown that more than what you hear from other people, it really has shown that the support for Israel and against Hamas is very, very important to the American Jewry. And they believe that Hamas should be stopped, and unless there's peace, unless they recognize Israel as a Jewish state and cessation of, I'm sorry, I just got off the plane, cessation of incitement and the right for Israel to exist as a Jewish state in peace and security, and for normalization of ties of its neighbors as well. Unless that happens, there cannot be a two-state solution. And I think even the flotilla shows us even more. Here we have the flotilla where the world is telling us that Israel doesn't have the right to defend itself. But if that's the case, when the Palestinians get a two-state solution, what is going to stop us? Even though Prime Minister Netanyahu wants demilitarization, I don't think they're ever going to accept that. They'll have an airport, and what's going to happen? We can't stop the planes from coming in. There could be arms, or there could be congressmen or senators on that. So what is our choice? I feel that this, if anything, has solidified the fact that we should realize that unless we really have normalization ties and they recognize us as a Jewish state, we cannot have, and the world understands that we can defend ourselves, we cannot have a two-state solution.
Now I have the chance to speak with Sivan Hadari, who is the founder, and you're the artistic director of Israel America.
Correct.
By the way, 30, half a second. Israel America is?
Israel America is a company of New York-based emerging and semi-established Israeli and Jewish American artists. We put together a slew of off-Broadway shows and musical showcases, and part of our proceeds go to the Gilad Shalit Foundation.
And Sivan has been kind enough to invite Shalom TV to cover some of her events, correct?
Yes.
So we're going to be seeing a lot of you.
Hopefully.
What's your reaction in general, Sivan, to the flotilla today?
I think it's a wonderful initiative. I think it's really about time that something of this size has happened. Today is the 4-year anniversary, unfortunately, of the time that Gilad was kidnapped. And, you know, I really hope that we won't need to do any of these things anymore. We all hope that he'll just be returned safely to his home and safely to his family, and that we won't have to come together and do these things.
Sivan Hadari, you'll be seeing a lot of her on Shalom TV. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So there you have it, our report of the Freedom Flotilla on the occasion of Gilad Shalit's 4th anniversary of his kidnapping. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. And of course, as always, I invite you to be in touch with me with any thoughts or comments you may have to the things you heard some of our guests say. Please be in touch with me this week by email or by mail. I look forward to hearing from you. Until the next time, I'm Mark Golub. Be well, my friends.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who can send a tax-deductible contribution of $36 or more to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media to help support our programming. Tax-deductible checks may be made out to GEM and mailed to GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. Please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD, and we thank you for your kind support.